Your next vehicle from Community Motors of Mason City.
Great service from 3 locations: Community on Monroe, Community Motors Westside, and Mason City Ford. 10 new franchises and hundreds of vehicles to give you more choices. Plus, Community offers an exclusive 3-3 warranty on pre-owned vehicles and 10-year, 250,000-mile warranty on new. Need more reasons why? Stop or visit CommunityAutoGroup.com.
Because nobody beats a community deal.
Lehigh has been talking to us for a couple years. We've talked about going out there, and they're talking about coming here, and next year we will go out there. We got them to come here, and it was kind of a last-minute deal, and we're glad they're coming.
What do they bring to the table, Lehigh?
I think their best team is in red shirt. I don't know what they bring, what that has to do with your question, but I think their best team is in red shirt, and I know they're building for the future. They're not giving anything away. They have some guys that wrestle a unique style, a style that we're going to see. You know, crab riding, claw, and spiral riding, where you're getting weight forward and throwing legs in and quick, cheap tilts. And we got to be ready for that. So in that regard, it's going to be a test. It's maybe the stereotypical East Coast mat wrestling type of style, not to pigeonhole them. You know, Pat Santoro is probably one of coaches in Division I wrestling that I respect the most, and whatever that's worth, I consider him a very competent fella. And it's one of those things where when we get to the mat, that really doesn't matter to each of us, but I know there's a mutual relationship there over the last 20 years, 15 years or so.
You mentioned after the match last weekend that you weren't kind of happy with the lack of turns or back points. What kind of needs to happen?
I don't think it was one position. I think it was where an opponent would maybe buckle under pressure. We took advantage of that. And then to really tighten the screws on our opponent, we had to work harder in a different position. And because they got tougher, just to kind of prevent or keep it close, we kind of gave up on that position. And I've said some weak words in there. I've said kinda a couple times, and that's really what it was like. I think we tried, but I don't know if we worked really hard to really put the screws in somebody. And it's tough. It's hard work to pin people. And I think we can be a little bit smarter in some of our wrestling. And when I say smarter, I'm talking about being more proficient and efficient in positions where when you do get a guy flat, you can, you know, get him to the next step, which would be to get the near fall criteria, and then the next step, which would be to get the fall. And pinning's the name of the game, and we need to really move forward in that position. Even though we got some pinners, you know, Telford's a pinner. McDonough's shown he's a pinner. He's going to put his name in the record book at the end of his career in pins, and Ramos is leading the team in pins now, and St. John wants to be a pinner. We got a lot of guys on board with that, but you got to work really hard. It's an art that we need to master better and probably approach it a little bit different mentality-wise. Not easy. Just because you take a guy down and you blow on him and he falls over doesn't mean you're going to blow on him and he's going to turn over on his back. If you can get an easy takedown, now you got to really work hard, capitalize. And I think that's what I was trying to say Saturday night after the dual meet. In a blur.
What have you seen from?
Is it tough to get turns when guys are sort of locking up on the bottom? I know that's sort of what happened against Iowa State a little bit. When you get on top, they kind of just try to, you know, keep the base and not let you turn them.
Yeah.
How do you fight through that? I
mean, it's tough, and that's something you got to deal with. But I mean, you deal with it in the practice room so that when it happens, you know, out on the mat, you're not just laying on guys and, you know, you're working for that turn, and then that's what's going to separate, you know, that score even more, is getting those back points, and then that kind of breaks guys. So.
Is it just a matter of being like physically stronger, or are there things you can kind of? Brandon talked a little bit about being smarter about some of that.
Physically, mentally. I mean, not so much physical because there's a lot of strong guys out there, but I mean, you wear them down and then you start to wear on them and then start to execute your holds that you've done in the practice room, and then they start to work.
Being an All-American,
How big of a feather in your cap at this speed to get a victory over a ranked opponent?
It's just another stepping stone to get to the end, to the top of the podium where you want to be. So.
You coming in to kind of prevent back points from the bottom?
I mean, I think it's everyone's strategy to not get turned. I'm not going to go and say that that's all they were trying to do on bottom. In my match, the guy had a few stall calls on bottom for maybe not being as active as he could be, but it really doesn't matter what the other team's coming in to do. Regardless, it doesn't matter if they come in and fall right to their face every time and just lay there completely closed off. You have to find ways to get that turn, to get that pin, and that's a perfect example of someone who is doing everything they can to not get turned, and they didn't get turned. So if they were trying not to get turned, they had success at that. But I gotta pick it up when it comes to top wrestling.
You guys, obviously 132-3, but no back points for the whole duel is something you obviously take note of, right?
Absolutely. There should be back points in, every match, especially if we have that many takedowns.
Right.
If we have 35-3 takedowns, you got to be scoring back points with those takedowns to really widen the gap. So I'm gonna try and work on that throughout the rest of the week and the rest of the season. That's definitely a key area to focus on.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.